Who knows if they have a wireless smart meter on their home? Who's read the fine print in your owner's manual that says that the smartphone should never be within about an inch of the body? We can no longer assume that our wireless technology is safe. Exponential rise in microwave radiation can have effects, and that's what scientists and medical doctors around the world are now saying, especially when it comes to children, because they're going to be affected by this their entire lives.
Welcome to the 100th Monkey Syndrome. And remember, welcome to Kitchen View. Yeah, as I previously explained in previous videos, this now has to be done to protect certain audiences from the truth. Yeah, you see, in today's world, even my greeting may be too spicy. You can find the grown-up, uncensored version on Odyssey. On that note, while we're busy, please remember to head over to the new Level 0 channel here on YouTube. YouTube will from now on only carry these Kitten View self-censored videos, and the main video platform for Level 0 will become Odyssey. So please also head over to Odyssey, create a profile, and please subscribe to Level 0's channel there. Today we're going to talk about electromagnetic fields, electromagnetic radiation, also called EMF and EMR respectively, and the rapidly rising levels of microwave radiation in our environments and its potential health impacts. Are governments and corporations perhaps knowingly exposing us to dangerous levels of this type of radiation without being honest about the possible health risks? I'll be talking to an expert in the field of mitigating against the harmful effects of EMF and EMR later in the show, but before we get there, just a reminder that despite my YouTube channel now definitely being shadow banned, and possibly some of my other social media platforms as well, that I am viewer funded, and I really appreciate all your support over the last few months. Please keep it coming in. We are moving out of the smart city region of Johannesburg at the end of July. I'm trying my best to keep the ship going. So please consider making a donation to the traditional channels in the description below, or to one of the crypto wallets on your screen. Let's first try to put into context how serious this matter of rising exposure to EMF and EMR really is. And I might be doing a little bit of a lengthy intro here, but I think it is necessary because I want to provide some context on how this fits in with the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development, and also just health risks associated with electromagnetic fields or electromagnetic radiation is just a topic that most people have never heard of before. So apologies for the slightly lengthy intro, but here we go. There are many sources of EMFs and EMR in our daily lives, and we are mostly unaware of them, despite the serious health risks that more and more research is now increasingly starting to point to.
We are fairly familiar with ionizing radiation. An X-ray hits your cell, inside of the cell's nucleus, it breaks a DNA molecule, and from then on, the children of this cell have a defective DNA, which turns on a RAS gene or some other naughty thing, and this cell then replicates and becomes a tumor. So this is a well-known, well-understood action path, but this is like an X-ray or a cosmic ray. It is an extremely high-energy piece of radiation. A non-ionizing radiation disrupts van der Waals bonds, and that is the major bond during creation of proteins and replication of DNA. You're zipping this stuff out like crazy, and every time there's a disruption from RF radiation, you are running the risk of creating an error either in DNA transcription or in the creation of a protein. This is a normal person, and when they talk on this 900 megahertz phone, there is virtually no change in their physiological condition. But this person, their heart rate goes from roughly 68 up to 122, and the heart rate becomes irregular. And as soon as you turn the phone off, they return to normal sinus rhythm. This is one of many sensitivity issues with microwave radiation. This is a normal person. This is a sensitive person. How many sensitive people are there in a general population? And this this sweetest study indicates that there's roughly 3% of the population that is severely sensitive to microwave radiation. And you put smart meters in a residential area, and these people either have to move or they have to heavily shield their houses. 35% of the population is moderately sensitive. So we are in a gray area here where the impact on property values and the impact on the population in general is relatively significant.
Electromagnetic fields are created by all electrical appliances or devices, dirty electricity from our grids pulsing AC electricity at 50 Hz, and likewise, electromagnetic radiation also comes from a variety of sources, devices that we use in our everyday lives these days, like cell phones, cell phone towers, Wi-Fi routers, Bluetooth devices, basically all wireless tech, things like radio and television signals even. From an Agenda 2030 perspective, I became interested in this topic of the possible health risks associated with EMF and EMR a couple of years ago because of the rollout of smart meters by the city of Johannesburg as part of our... Yes, welcome back to Kitten View. Are you feeling comfortable? Not scared or upset by anything? Good. I think the scary bit is almost over now. Around 3 years ago, I wrote this blog about this rollout of smart meters by City Power. For those people who are not very familiar yet with how smart meters fit into this UN agenda and their place in the smart grid and smart city, Rosa Corey, the author of Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21, describes the UN agenda as follows. Agenda 21 is the action plan to inventory and control all land, all water, all energy, all minerals, all construction, all plants, all animals, all means of production, all information, and all human beings in the world. Inventory and control. And that is exactly where smart meters fit in. It is a device to monitor in live time how much electricity you are using and for what purpose, with the ability to communicate with other smart devices in your house. And if the green communist in your country believes you are using too much electricity, more than your fair share, then you will be cut off remotely. I bring up all this smart meter stuff because the city of Johannesburg are back on it in the news recently, saying that suburbs in Randburg will be the first to receive new technology electricity meters in the latest City Power rollout. Non-smart meters will be replaced from 26 May as the city of Johannesburg aims to move towards a smart city. Just in case anybody still wanted to dispute that, smart meters are indeed part of the Agenda 2030 smart city plans. The city of Johannesburg just confirmed it for you there. And in true lying UN scumbag fashion, this has nothing to do with saving electricity and everything to do with screwing you over.
During a typical day, there is lots of power consumption during the middle of the day, and there isn't very much in the middle of the night. And so the primary reason for having smart meters is to move some of this demand over to there. So basically, a smart meter is therefore responsible for zero reduction in usage. Zero reduction. It is primarily a device that moves power from one place to another. Customers' behavior is responsible, and on a good day, PG&E cites the number 4 to 12%. Okay, so if you think of a typical $100 a month power bill, that's like $40 a year. What they are leaving out of the details are this meter may be collecting data from tens to dozens to hundreds of other meters. In fact, the duty cycle of this thing could be nearly continuous. This smart meter also has a second channel of communication where it talks directly to what are called smart-enabled appliances inside of your house. A.C. Nielsen collaborated with MIT in 1992, and they said, barcodes are great. That tells us what you buy. Customer cards are great. They tell us who bought the stuff. But what they also said was, what is missing in our marketing strategy is when, where, and how usage. And they were presenting this to MIT saying, this is a problem. We do not know when, where, and how our products are being bought, how they're being used. If the smart meter supplies this information, I assert that this has an extraordinary amount of marketing value. This isn't a trivial bit of information that we can discount. There are people with a lot of money who want to know this. And PG&E is asserting, well, we're not doing it, but by the way, all the stuff that goes on inside of the meter is top secret. Here is, and if you think that's bad, they're just getting warmed up. Here is graphics from the industry itself talking about this link inside of the house. Smart meters talk directly to smart-enabled devices. It's like a Bluetooth, okay? And the CPUC has already committed to mandating that all appliances sold in California are smart-enabled.
Smart meters do not reduce your carbon footprint, does not make your household more sustainable. The purpose of smart meters is to change your behavior, to spy on you, and to ration individual or household electricity use. It is making you fit in with the purposeful lack of meaningful increase in baseload electricity supply over the last 30 years, making you fit in with the demented dreams of the globalists of having modern economies running on fans. Of course, they know that can't really be done. That's why they're pushing it on you. 14th century technology. Smart meters simply mean that you will now be doing your washing at 3 a.m. in the morning, or you won't be able to afford it. You got that, slave? That is United Nations Sustainable Development. So when your leaders talk about green economy infrastructure that is supposed to reignite our economy and localizing the SDGs, now you know what they are talking about. And I have warned a year ago about the fact that your pensions are going to be used to build your own prison. Does sustainable development still sound wonderful? I stress again, these meters save zero electricity. They do not reduce usage in any way. It simply moves usage from one time of day to a different time of day. And if you don't, you will get punished, like a good little pet rat. And this is how this Pavlovian system works. The city of Johannesburg has introduced a load-limiting system which will reduce the amount of power supplied to the household, thus reducing demand and probably averting load shedding. Yes, you see, because in their demented little minds, when you reduce supply, you also reduce demand, magically. The load limiting, which is only applicable on smart meters, allows the city to send an SMS to the ratepayer alerting him or her to reduce demand before power is reduced. If the ratepayer starts reducing demand before the actual load limiting time, they will not experience any power interruption. When the load limiting is implemented, power supplied to the house will be reduced. If the household has not reduced the load, their electricity will go off for 30 seconds and come back on. This will give the household time to switch off some appliances. If the person in the house does not switch off anything, there will be another power outage for 30 seconds and come back on. If there is still no load reduction, then there will be an outage. Obviously, that is all great for your appliances too, flashing on and off like that. But if you obey the smart grid, good boy. Now sit. So smart meters are spying and rationing devices, but they also contribute to the fast increasing levels of electromagnetic radiation in our environments. We are not informed at all, really, by city power, even that these meters emit radiation, nor about the levels or how often. Yet there is increasing research pointing to the fact that we are all affected by these types of energies, whether we are immediately aware of them or not.
You might be asking, perhaps some people are being injured by this, but if you're not feeling it, it's probably not that big of a deal. And I think that's a very common experience. But it's not as simple as saying that just a few unfortunate people are being affected by this. Because what the science shows is that we're all affected on some level, whether we can feel it or not. And the reason is because essentially our bodies are electric. Every cell in our body communicates using tiny electric signals. It's how our nervous system operates. So to think that we could put an exponential amount of microwave radiation into our environment and not feel effects is simply false.
It seems pretty obvious that adding thousands of devices like this in areas where people live and work and sleep, with no considerations for safety, on top of something like the coming 5G network, which will place cell phone towers every couple of 100 meters in residential areas, that there could be severe health impacts for many, many people, especially for children.
This is a cell tower in San Francisco. That brown thimble on top of the telephone pole is a cell tower. And these are being placed every couple blocks. So you could have an amazing home, and then one week, a company can come and put a cell tower right outside your window.
The following clip is about a childhood cancer study conducted around the Sutro Tower in San Francisco in 2002. Have a look.
Over here is a map of San Francisco. The peninsula is on the bottom, Golden Gate Bridge is on the top, and as you can see, there is a plus, okay? The middle of that plus is the Sutro Tower. You can see the Sutro Tower up on the top. That thing pumps out the better part of 20 megawatts of radiated energy into the environment. It radiates AM radio, FM radio, and television. From the period 1973 to 1988, it was the primary source of RF radiation to everyone on that peninsula. What's good about that? A, I don't want to live there, but B, it is a fabulous test tube. You know the exact dose based on where people live. There are 123 people in this study, children under the age of 21, that have contracted either leukemia, lymphoma, or glioma, basically the most common cancers of children under the age of 21. And these little stars indicate where they lived. And they are pretty much all over the peninsula. Okay, they are not concentrated underneath the Sutro Tower. They are fairly evenly distributed all over. Okay, and this is a plot of the radiation they received from the Sutro Tower and those children's prevalency compared to the general population of these cancers. And we see that if you're directly under the Sutro Tower, you have an 18-fold chance of getting childhood leukemia. Not 18%, 18-fold. An 18,000% increase in the prevalency of cancer directly underneath the Sutro Tower. As you go away from the Sutro Tower up to the coast, which is 5 kilometers away, you are still at 4 times, a 4-fold increase in the prevalency of childhood leukemia. This gorgeous correlation persists for all 4 of the diseases studied. In other words, this is a disease of RF radiation. There are no other cofactors.
None of these potential health risks seem to ever be considered by government or by corporations for that matter as they roll out all this new wireless tech into our living spaces. And I don't know if you still trust the mainstream media to be reporting on damning research surrounding industries with this much money and power behind them. I certainly don't. These types of dangers, however, as I said already, never disclosed or considered when local UN Agenda 2030 agents... Yes, hi, we're doing this thing again because, you know, historically, as we all know, the people who we have to cater for now, self-censoring, you know, the people who do the actual censoring, they are usually the good guys, as we all know. And safety standards around microwave radiation are based on research that is 50 years old and that we now know to be wrong.
The Federal Communications Commission is who is supposed to be regulating wireless technology. But if you look at the regulations, they're almost 20 years old. But not only that, they're based on a concept which is nearly 50 years old, which says if microwave radiation does not heat us, then it can't possibly hurt us. But there's now hundreds of studies that show that this is false. The science is heavily influenced by industry funding. This is a study by Dr. Henry Lai. He looked at 326 studies based on the biological effects of cell phone radiation. He found that about half of the studies showed effects and half didn't. That's pretty normal for this type of research. But what he found that was interesting was that if you looked at who funded the studies, 70% of the independent studies showed effects, and only 32% of the industry-funded studies showed effects.
I just want to remind people about how these devices were forced into your living spaces, with no disclosure about anything at all, really, surrounding the meters, which really just ignores our Consumer Protection Act as though it doesn't exist. But I really want you to remember how this happened. Most people's experience around smart meters, if they had one installed in Johannesburg, would have gone something a little bit like this. The contractor arrived without an appointment and bullied his way onto the property to install the meter. No instructions were given to us when he left. A while later, another city power official arrived to install a remote readout. He did not say anything other than when he left. He had removed the batteries from the unit and told me to use other batteries. At no time did City Power ever communicate with me concerning the use of the smart meter or load limiting. This should all sound very familiar to residents in Johannesburg if they've had a smart meter installed over the last couple of years. The city was not and is not disclosing anything really about these meters, not the fact that they do emit radiation, or the levels, or how often, or any of its other capabilities like spying and rationing you. But today's episode is all about the harmful effects of EMF, electromagnetic fields, or electromagnetic radiation, EMR, and how we can protect ourselves against the harmful effects. And I'm privileged to have a guest today who has walked a rather personal path to awareness about EMF and EMR. He also has a company specializing in off-grid solutions, and I want to welcome Mr. Albert Stander to the show. Albert, welcome to the 100th Monkey Syndrome, and thanks for speaking to us today about this very important topic. Let's start off with a bit of a background. Just tell us what you do and how you got there.
I started around about 18 years ago, a dream of good free energy solutions, or free energy or green energy solutions, cheaper solutions. And as a hobby, nothing but a garage mechanic. And I really educated myself, the workings of energies, all the different types of energies, and I've developed products out of it, which eventually, right about 10, 12 years ago, became a full-time occupation. And I started creating load shedding power units. Then I've also designed a much bigger one that basically gives you about 50% of our modern need electricity, and numerous other products. In the same breath, just also have to tell you, I've also built a 1,000 units that just didn't work. So it was that learning curve. I really challenged myself to something. I'm really, really, really enjoying it and really passionate about it.
So today we are talking all about the health risks associated with electromagnetic fields and electromagnetic radiation. Give us a brief explanation of exactly what is meant by those terms and where these fields come from.
EMF defined is an electromagnetic field that is around an electrical device. Now, an electrical wire, extension lead, your television set, your microwave, if you just take note of what it's called, and any other electrical device makes this magnetic fields all over your house and your place of work, and that presents a danger to you and to your health.
And then there's also electromagnetic radiation, which comes from many of the modern devices we use, cell phones, Wi-Fi routers, Bluetooth devices, also even radio and television signals, that carries with it the same electromagnetism. Is that correct?
Correct. What was important for me to understand and this only happened very, very recently in my life, is that the two works in conjunction with each other. If I can give a quick explanation. The EMF puts your body into a positive state charge where you're not supposed to be, because this is dirty, man-made electricity. You literally become an aerial system. Now you are receiving the EMR. So it's two evils with one result. Both dangerous on their own, but when you combine the two together and you literally turning into an electromagnet, that's where you are in most serious danger.
Yeah, and most of us are now in this kind of state every day without realizing it. You just mentioned dirty electricity. Now, I think many people may have heard this term before, but may not be entirely sure about what is meant by it. Could you perhaps give us a brief explanation of dirty electricity?
Okay, if I'll do the explanation of DC and AC, DC direct current, which is exactly what it says. It's a straight line. It's a non-oscillating current that you use. It's a very clean form of energy. But what we have decided to do is we take DC and we put it through a transformer, and this transformer adds an amount of oscillations per second, which your reference would be a hertz reading. And then it gives this power a frequency. So our power in South Africa, 220 volt at 50 hertz. Obviously in your system, there's a lot of different frequencies that communicates in your neurological system and so forth. But your cells basically measures 0.0 volts, and it's as close to as what we would refer as DC to direct current. Now, the moment that you're getting exposed to oscillating current, it just simply messes up the whole system because you are getting the wrong signals and the wrong frequencies.
You became involved in EMF and EMR mitigation only recently, and in a rather personal way, with your wife being hypersensitive and you not being aware of the cause of her ailments for years and years. Tell us a little bit about that whole journey.
Yeah, we married in the later 1990s, almost 25 years this year. And shortly after we got married, these heart palpitations started, but viciously. And it's really extreme. You know, I don't want to exaggerate and so forth. Headaches. She constantly had an anxious feeling. All the symptoms was there. Battling with sleep. Obviously, have times that just doesn't have any energies. And the more doctors we saw and consulted with, the less we found out. There were so many diagnoses. At a stage, she had to wear constant monitors on her body so that the doctors can try and pick up when is this happening, when is it igniting. If I can give some example, we would go to a social event, she'll have a glass of wine, and the next moment the heart palpitations is there, and in a very, very serious manner. I'm not talking about something lightly. And then, no more wine. Or she eats a packet of chips and it happens. And what's in the chips? Okay, there's MSG in it. Okay, it must be MSG. So this is now for the last 20 years plus that we've been trying to chase this down. And it is as personal as what personal can get. It is absolutely as personal as what can get. And eventually we gave up on seeing doctors. And I've got a amazing spirited friend in Cape Town, which is a very good herbalist. And he came in and addressed the matter as well. And he made it better by using good solid electrolytes and things. It was we could manage it better. But also, you know, it progressively got worse from the 1990s into 2000s, 2010s, and 2020. And at a very peak, really at the end of last year, that she's had, there was days that there was could be 3 to 5 incidents. I have to absolutely give her the credit because She made the grounding discovery, and that's the key word, grounding. Asked me to try and build a simple device, and we did it. And I have to tell this is an absolute personal experience. She came to me. I was busy doing testing. We've built this simple device, and she said to me that I must put my hand on her chest. I put my hand on her chest, and it was literally it was almost like a woman that's 8-9 months pregnant and the baby is kicking my hand the way her heart is palpitating, and my hand was on her chest, and a split second said to her, touch the grounding pad, and she touched it, and it just stopped there. Immediately, in 3 seconds, it was gone, and we were standing and staring at each other. We couldn't believe what we are experiencing here right now. Now, obviously, from that moment on, we started intensively testing it. And I started testing on myself. For argument's sake, you hear a zinging sound in your ear. Zing, and it's there. And you touch the grounding pad, it actually goes zing, and it's gone. And that is the negative frequencies that is moving through us on a daily basis. And for the first time ever, we realized exactly what my wife's condition was. Not the symptoms that we've been trying to treat for so many years, but the simple cause. And for the first time ever, we could treat the cause, and we took the cause away, and she's never been healthier this last 6 months, as long as what I know her. And that is just, we're godly thankful for that.
You mentioned that your wife made the grounding discovery, and one of the main things you wanted to talk about today is the product that you created. I know you're very passionate about this product, the grounding band. I'm also selling the grounding band, by the way. Yeah, it looks like this. It's 180 Rand for people in Joburg. If you would be interested in getting a grounding band, you can find the email address below this video where you can contact me if you're interested in getting a grounding band. But Albert, tell us a bit about the grounding band.
Yeah, first of all, this my weird suggestion. What I do is I plug you into your house. It's 100% safe, and you're not using electricity. You are just using the ground of the house. So what we're trying to do is to get you onto creation, barefoot onto creation. So what this grounding band does, exactly what the word says, it grounds you. So it takes you to a neutral state. It removes all this dirty energy out of your body. If you should Google medical professor Martin Paul, it's spelled P-A-L-L. He's made a discovery, I cannot remember exactly how long ago, but a couple of years ago, where he found that on your cells you've got VGCC, voltage gate calcium channel. So what happens with the dirty electricity specifically, when you expose these channels open, and they open for too long, immediately when that happens, your body loses an electron. It's a very, very interesting study, and this professor is really worth reading. I will challenge everybody to do that. Now, what happens next is this is where the cycle of going downhill all starts. Your body needs to replace that electron. So it goes and it's going to go create another one. It go look for your electrolytes in your body. So it's going to take you to potassium or magnesium or calcium or whichever one, and chemically changes it over and replace the electron lost. So you are busy now running chemically off electrolytes, where if you were barefoot on ground or grounded or using this grounding band, you would receive electrons from Earth, as you always do, number one. And that is why it is beyond special. It's such a beautiful, simplistic solution, and the results is absolutely amazing. We've also put a lot of research into sleep cycles, all new for us and all new direction in our life, but it's a journey. Basically, what it boils down to is every 90 minutes that you sleep, you move through all 4 stages of your sleep. Stage 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you in REM. When you're in REM, you will dream. And that is the part where your body, your immune system starts repairing damages in your body. And if you do not get to cycle number 4, you will not go into REM. And if you are exposed to EMF and EMR, you are not going to get there. It's as simple as that. We've tested every single device in our house, and even on the bed that we sleep, found that the readings are sky high. Since we started the sleeping with the bands, massive improvements.
One of the last things solutions I want to give today is to create a safe place to sleep, because this is one of the most important things, because this is when your body rejuvenates, and it's when you can make sure that everything's off.
I've been using your grounding band now for about 2 months, and I must say it really made a difference for me in terms of I feel a lot more rested when I wake up in the mornings, like I actually slept, and I also have a lot fewer headaches than I used to have. But something else that came up in our discussions was the issue of autoimmune disease. Now, I know in my own social circle over the last 10 years or so, pretty young people still in their mid-30s or even their 20s still sometimes, suddenly diagnosed with some form of autoimmune disease or autoimmune disorder. But there is also a known connection between EMF or EMR hypersensitivity and autoimmune disease, isn't there?
Autoimmune disease is quite close and also a bit personal. I have a family member which has been battling with this for many, many years right now. I made sure that she was one of the first people to receive one of these bands, and she's given me very, very positive feedback on that, which I'm very, very thankful for. But the way I see it, and there's beautiful studies that you can, and I read a couple of them, is just simple, is what happens to you, and this is very important to me, is your immune system basically switches on, and you produce white blood cells, and you can get a small throat, you can get all these flu-like symptoms. The problem is that there is no internal threat. Because of the external threat, your immune system goes into response. But obviously, your immune system cannot cope with an external threat.
Yeah, and then the body starts to attack itself. What are some of the practical solutions that we can follow to protect ourselves and our families from the harmful effects of EMF and EMR?
There's many. I've now put in a lot of hours. For argument's sake, don't stand right in front of a microwave oven when you're using it. Your safe distance is around about 1 meter. It's the same thing with Wi-Fi routers. Wi-Fi router is a challenge, but we are doing a device right now that will redirect the bad magnetic field around it. It will still work. You will still have your signal. Likewise with laptops. Just don't use a laptop the way that it's described. Don't put it on your lap. It's not smart. Hardwire products. If you are in a room with a Wi-Fi router in your laptop, use a wire. Don't use it wireless. Get rid of all wireless items in your house, especially with teenagers that uses these Bluetooth headsets to listen to music. Don't use it. Get a headset that has a wire on it.
If smart meters had been designed to use either fiber optics or to emit just once or twice a day, rather than the 10,000 times they do emit, then I wouldn't be standing here today, and thousands upon thousands of people around the world would not have been injured by smart meters. I mentioned that you don't want to put the cell phone within about an inch of the body. The industry's telling us this now. So make sure you use speakerphone, get an air tube headset, and when it's on the body, make sure that you put it on airplane mode, when it's either in the pocket or sometimes in the bra.
Next thing is, do not buy products that's got 2-point plugs on it. Our market is littered, especially from products from the East, with 2-point plugs on it. That is a live and a neutral. There is no ground on it. That fan or whatever that device is creating a massive electrical field that is dangerous to you. Be aware of what's going on around you. Test it. If you need advice, I will take I take phone calls anytime. People phone me crazy hours. I don't mind this. I've decided that this is a project that I want to do. I can advise. And if you know somebody, an electrician, everybody knows an electrician somewhere. Ask him to test your hunt and see if your grounding is working perfectly. If you're not using an electrical device, switch it off. And if you can, unplug it. Because if your microwave is plugged in and you walk past it, while it's not in use, it still has an electrical field around it, which will still make you sick. It's as simple as that. Same with a fan. If it's plugged in, a 2-point flat fan, which I've done a lot of my own testing on, if it's plugged in and it's switched off and you walk past it, there's a massive magnetic field. But in general, shop smarter. If it's wireless, it's a problem. And we've done this testing through and through now. It's a problem, and when you are getting sick, then it's too late. You need to address it now.
Your devices, the devices that you are creating to mitigate against these magnetic fields, they don't interfere with the functioning of your cell phone or your Bluetooth device or Wi-Fi or anything like that. It still works. You are just protected from the harmful effects of the magnetism, correct?
Correct. So if you go and do a reading on radiation, the reading will come way down, but you will still have your signal. We're also in the process of, and it will still take a little bit right now, a product that you will be put on your cell phone itself that will give you at least 70 to 80% protection. I'm very excited about that one.
So one final question. I was lying in bed the other night with the grounding band on my foot like I always do, and we had a storm coming up quite rapidly, and I was wondering in my head what would happen if my house happened to be struck by lightning while wearing the grounding band.
Okay, now chances of having a negative effect on you is like 1 to a billion. But when I built the first 20 units, I didn't have a safety in it, but in the meantime, we put 2 safeties in it. So simply what will happen is one of the safeties will just fuse and burn out. So I've got a resistor and I've got a very low ampage fuse on it. And yes, it's a very good question. I got almost caught out by that in the beginning myself. It's really, chances of that happening is almost nil, but just to make people feel a little bit more comfortable about this, because it's unnatural. We put these safeties in to make sure that it's 100%. And actually, I think ours is much more prone. If you look at our products and you look at the European and American products, ours is way more, we put way more effort into safety, a little bit, way more money into safety. And it's a good product.
Albert, thank you very much for joining us on the show today to talk about this very important topic. I'm sure we will talk a lot in the future also about some other things. Once again, if people would like to get hold of a grounding band, it's 180 Rand. You can find the email below this video where you can contact me. You can also go to Albert's website, earthcelltech.co.za. He has agents all across the country. If you are not in Johannesburg, you can find someone through his website in your area that could help you with a grounding band. Also check out his website for some of his excellent other products that are available for your load shedding solutions. Thanks again, Albert, for joining us.
Justice, thank you so much. Also, just as a last thing, is anybody welcome to phone me if they need advice, and send me an email. It's all available, or a phone call or WhatsApp. I'm always open. I took this project to make people aware, and I'm really willing to walk the distance. I was asked if I'm willing to do this, and I said, I am, and you can send me.
Thanks everyone for watching. I hope this information was valuable to you in some way, and we will see you again soon. Please remember to click subscribe and the bell for notifications, and you can find us on the following platforms.